Well, welcome back to another video. This one is going to be some information on the boat trailer. On my trailer I've got a system that has a surge style disc brake on it. Because of the weight of the trailer, it's in the boat, it's necessary. So this is some of the things that I do to maintain this system. It gets dipped into salt water and there's some rust that can happen, and it can have a tendency to stick a little bit and cause some friction. So this is a way of maintaining that. So here's a little diagram, kind of shows you the components of this if you're not familiar. But basically there's a piston that moves, and then there's two components, the carrier plates that have the brake liners on it that also have to be able to slide back and forth as pressure is applied, and they need to be able to snap back, or else you get this friction that's can cause problems and lost mileage and heat. And of course, make sure you got everything supported very well before you take the tires off, and to get at the brakes. Here's the assembly, brake assembly, before we took it apart. Okay, we have the surge brake pulled forward all the way, so the hydraulics should be away from the brake. Here we are, and we still have a bit of friction floating things. Maybe not floating as well as it should. So we're going to grease it up, grease up some components, and see if we can get that drag out of there. Okay, little cap comes off the rubber boot in the back here. There's a bolt inside. On these brakes, it needs a Torx fitting to driver to get the bolt out. It's a T15, I think, on this one. Not a whole lot of room back here, so if you can just break it loose, and then you're going to have to use a wrench to get the rest of it out. Not the easiest thing to get to, but there's only two of them, so it's not a big deal. Okay, get it out. That's what it looks like. Put a thread to it. One on the bottom as well. Okay, so now that you got those loosened up, there's a couple clips here, or a clip, two pins to here, the front bit, and then free at last. Okay, you got the two slide bolts off and that little retainer clip, and now this this brake assembly will come apart with the brake shoes on it. Just nudge it a little bit. You can try to compress the piston a little bit to try to get it a little looser too. Careful of the hoses on the piston. Well, you can see how rusted that's getting to be. Salt water. Take a look at the brake pads, see how they're looking. Not too badly worn, a little weird wear, but not too bad. Put some grease at the top and bottom and put those back on. You want to use a lubricant that's associated with brakes, so it can handle the heat associated in the water. Okay, I had to improvise here a little bit. I was going to use a little syringe type applicator, but I didn't have it, so I got a lunch bag, filled it with some grease, cut the tip of the lunch bag off, and carefully opened up that rubber boot to be able to get the grease underneath the boot and around the piston itself. So careful not to tear anything, but you can squeeze that tip underneath there and then squeeze out that adhesive in there so that you get some where the piston's rubbing up against the walls, or there's a ring in there. The ring is rubbing up against the walls in there. Try to get that inevitable rust that's in there for keeping it from binding up. That and the pins on the sides are the other bit that you're trying to get greased here. So those pins that we took out now, when they go back in, you want to grease them beforehand so that this assembly can slide freely back and forth. It needs to be able to float, and it's kind of a crude mechanism, so we're doing our best to make it effective. The other thing you want to do is to put the anti-seize lubricant on the threads of the bolts before this goes back together. That was a good idea. Again, marine environment. Try to get it so that you can get them freed up. It's going to be a maintenance thing, so need to be able to remove them when you want to. Compress the piston before you try to put this back together. Yeah, we're going to compress this thing a little bit. That comes together better. There it is. Okay, got everything greased up and put back together and inspected, and just reverse order. Go back through it, tighten everything up nice, and hopefully it'll all be taken care of. Pretty simple mechanism, and the surge part of it is another thing that electric brakes are always better, but you can't do it on a boat really, because the electronics would just get eaten up by the salt water. So that's why they do surges on boat trailers, and you're kind of stuck with that reality. So it might want to, we're going up and down mountains all the time, so it might want to heat up more than you'd like it to, because it's going to grab, just because the surge has no way of telling it to decrease itself. So this will hopefully help it recover after you've hit the brakes, so it has a chance to cool down, and hopefully it'll give you a little better gas mileage too once you do this. Kind of keep an eye on it. Again, if you're in the salt, water itself is corrosive, but get in the salt water and it's going to be something you're going to want to keep an eye on, and a little bit of grease now and then really makes a big difference in keeping everything running for you. You don't want a hazard on the road. So hopefully this helps you on that, and you can use this video as well for changing out the brake pads. Would be a simple thing to do while you had it all apart, but at least you're inspecting them and that, and if you need to replace them you can. Probably save a little bit of money by doing it yourself, and the convenience of it, because boats are a pain in the ass to move around to a mechanic. Thanks again for watching. I'll put a product information down in the description if you need to look for that, and if you could hit the like and subscribe, that would be fantastic. That really helps me out and my motivation to keep going at these things, and hopefully the next one we'll see you on the water and catch some fish. Tight lines.